Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the second Landscape Institute's Leadership Update. You can't see me at the moment, so I'm going to appear by magic. There we go. Good morning, everybody. I hope you've all managed to log on and join us. So this is our second webinar session, and we've got a really packed agenda. So I'm going to go to the screen share and talk you through that and who we've got with us today, because it's very, very exciting. So just bear with us, and here we go again. So there's the screen share again. So yes, today I'm joined by Romy Rawlings, who's our Honorary Secretary. He's giving you a little wave there. And also by Dan Cook, our CEO, who's got super fast broadband today. So he won't be leaving us at any point. We also have a couple of guests joining us from our new charitable partner organisations. So we'll be hearing from Mark and Kate a little bit later on. So today, what are we talking about today? Well, as you know, we've been working on the Climate and Biodiversity Action Plan. That'll be released today, and we'll be talking you through that. I'll be sharing some of my thoughts and also hearing from Romy about what it means to the members and the registered practices. And Dan will be talking us through the latest new entry standards, ethics and code of practice. He'll also be sharing an update on the guidance for the COVID-19 for landscape professionals. And I'll be talking you through some of the new LI awards for 2020 and introducing our two new charity partners. So that's going to be really interesting to hear how we're going to be working with them. Dan and I will be giving you a heads up on what to expect from the Landscape Institute over the next 12 months. And then I'll be closing with a look at how you might be able to help us encourage the next generation to choose landscape during lockdown. So it's a packed agenda. Let's crack on. As I mentioned, we're going to talk a little bit about the Climate Action Plan. And before we go into the detail of it, I thought I'd share a little bit from my personal perspective. And you can't ignore the fact that we've got COVID-19 right now. We're in the heart of it. And we were working on the Climate Crisis Action Plan when this kicked in. And I've been thinking about this and how society has changed its behaviour like never before. Personally, I think the climate crisis should have employed the COVID-19 publicist years ago, because we're now working from home. There's less travel to meetings. We're using tech to communicate. People are starting to grow fruit and veg at home. They're not wasting resources, including toilet paper. And there's a community spirit, certainly where I live in Kingston, that I've never seen before. We're appreciating our unsung heroes. People are starting to discover local green spaces to get that vital dose of vitamin N, and some are even dusting off their bikes and getting out on those. But I think most impressively, this is something I heard last night, that in Pakistan, they've hired 63,000 people that were unemployed because of the virus, and they are now helping plant 10 billion trees. So there is a correlation between the two. And from a personal perspective, Andre and I at Davis White, we've always been very keen to be sustainable and to conserve and protect and enhance landscape, as I'm sure many of you do in your day jobs. Supporting that next generation with the climate crisis, which is still going on, those protests, but now online, is something we can all do. Raising awareness in your local community, moving to a plant-based diet, walking, don't drive, change to sustainable power provider, train, not plane, lights and power off, and choose a green bank. There's so many different things you can do. So from design champions, we need to become sustainability superheroes. And one of my superheroes is this gentleman, Cleve West. He's just published this book. He appeared on my window the other day and dropped it off with us. How Plants Can Save the Animals, the Planet and Our Health. It is a really interesting read. So it's available online and you can grab a copy there. So do take a look at that. It's literally just out. So we have under a decade to limit global warming to a maximum of 1.5 degrees. We know this. Anything short of this goal will see droughts and floods and extreme heat, throwing millions worldwide into jeopardy again. Landscape professionals are positioned to tackle the climate crisis head on. We are the profession that weaves the human and natural systems together. It goes without saying. And for years, we've worked on designing these green infrastructure spaces that enhance our communities, that respect the past while thinking of the future. So we are at the interface, as I've said, And at home, we're already seeing the effects of more than 2/5 of the UK species have experienced significant decline in recent decades. 1 million species, 1 million, are threatened by extinction. And this is the one that really alarms me, and I know it will you too. 57% of things about to become extinct right now are plants, yet only 4% of conservation funding goes into saving them. We have to do something about this, both the climate and biodiversity. So, as you will recall, last year, 12 months ago, we announced that we were going to put together this plan, and we are working very, very hard on it. Now, the LI, this is the biggie, the LI aims to be net zero by 2029, and that will be the same year we'll be celebrating our 100th anniversary, and we can only do it with your help. It is vital that in 10 years' time, we can honestly look back and tell the next generation we did all we could at home and at work to make a difference. We need to safeguard all life on this planet, not just now, but for the future. So I'm now going to welcome my two friends. Romy's up there and Dan's there with his Choose Landscape banner, and we're going to talk you through the launch of the Climate and Biodiversity Action Plan. Hello, Romy.
Hello.
Hello, Dan.
Hello, good day.
Fully connected.
Yeah.
So do you want to just talk us through what this means to the membership and to the registered practices? Romy?
Yeah. I think there's an element of carrot and stick here, if I'm going to be completely honest. We know we've got to act quickly. We know we have to act responsibly. As Adam's just mentioned, it's nearly a year since we declared the climate emergency, climate and biodiversity emergency. And it may seem that we've been quite quiet in the meantime, but actually an awful lot of work's been going on. As Adam also showed, we've had a body of professionals considering what we do next, and we're now at the point where we can release our action plan. And it's critical that every member takes note, reads it, and acts upon it in exactly the way that we've been doing through the Institute. So there are some short-term measures that we've already taken and will continue to take, some medium term for the next 3 to 5 years. And then, as Adam's just mentioned, we plan to be carbon neutral as an organisation within the next 10 years. And that's going to be challenging, but I know working for a business that's been carbon neutral in terms of production for 10 years, that's possible. It's absolutely possible, but it will require all of us to make fairly big changes.
So Dan, from a sort of action plan, from delivering on the ground, what would you, the slide up there talks about the LI's commitments. Do you want to talk us through those a little bit?
Yeah, well, I think one of the important things that when the LI declared last year and was one of the first professional bodies in the built or natural environment to do so, we committed to actions, and I think people can judge us on the actions. And this plan today, I'm really proud that it has a lot of things that we've actually already done, as Romy said. But equally, you know, we've known, anyone who's studied sciences and landscape and related topics, you know, I studied earth sciences back in the mid-90s, and, you know, the evidence and the science has been out there for decades, but people haven't changed behaviours. So, you know, even the LI did great policy work in the mid-2000s on this. So really we need to, and you'll see the things that we are putting in place. There's a lot of things that are in here that are actually around nudging people. It's around us showing leadership in the way that we run our own organisation, but also helping each other on that journey to do better, rewarding success, as Romy said. I mean, but this is a huge undertaking. To get to net zero is a big deal, and it's going to be hard, and it's going to mean that we're all going to have to do a lot more of these sorts of events going forward where we can, rather than in person and travel. And we're also going to have to make sure we invest in skills and knowledge and support for our members to equip them to be at the forefront of providing nature-based solutions. So I think it's quite exciting, and there's a lot in there. It's going to go live at 12 p.m. today. So, you know, keep an eye on the website after this webinar. You're getting it first here live now.
So Romy, the 4 key areas that are up there on our mission now, we chatted about this earlier. Let's go through them. So number 1 there, equipped in the landscape profession. How would you interpret that?
Well, we know from various meetings, events that we've held, all of the activities over the last year, that members are crying out for more information, and there are real gaps in some areas. One I'm more aware of than some of the others perhaps is specification. If we think our industry, the construction sector, is responsible for more than 40% of carbon emissions year on year, you know, we all have to play a part in that and start to pay attention to all of our actions, whatever type of project we're working in. And I think there may well be a swing to soft landscape away from hard landscape where appropriate. We need to start looking at carbon sequestration as well as embodied carbon. So it's about providing information. We know that there are members who just don't really know where to start. And through collaborating with other groups such as Barley and the entire supply chain, we need to be able to provide that information so that we can help and equip members with everything that they need to start bringing about these changes.
So Dan, sustainability is a huge part of this. How do we see the Institute? How are we going to collaborate and work with others on this subject?
Look, we're leading a work strand with the Construction Industry Council in the UK on adaptation and resilience. And so we've been meeting with the group called The Edge and the Construction Industry Council over the past year. They first convened a group in June of, in the middle of last year. So we've actually volunteered. Past President Noel Farrer's working with us on that. And also we're having direct one-to-one conversations with a number of professional bodies who do great work in this area. Groups like CIBSE, REBA, RICS, we've all had discussions with each other to help one another on this journey. And there's a real spirit of collaboration across the professional bodies. Barley as well, very keen to work with us on employer guides and support across the supply chain. And indeed, many of our suppliers have been in touch as well. You know, long-term supporters of ours like Hardscape and others have also been keen to volunteer their time and efforts as well. It is something that we can only achieve the change if we get everyone in the industry working towards the same goals.
So we know that, you know, everybody that's tuned in today, we can all do our bit. I mentioned it earlier, what we can do at home, what we can do in the workplace. How do we influence government? How do we make them listen to this? How are we going to do that, Dan?
Well, one of the interesting things is that the Committee on Climate Change had already nominated professions like us as being part of the solution. So I think there's more to do though, and I think one of the areas where we really have highlighted in this piece of work, the issue around biodiversity net gain and expanding that to wider environmental net gain is a very critical one for this profession to be advocating for. There's some cities and some locations and some nations around the UK that are already ahead of the game. If you look at places like Scotland and Wales, and also cities like Singapore or cities like Medellin, many of them are putting green infrastructure and resilience measures as requirements. And that's what we're going to be advocating for a lot more of, is better regulation of infrastructure. Even the parks and green spaces, you know, should be a statutory service. We've seen how important they are in this crisis. So I think post this lockdown period and all, I think there's going to be a new appreciation of green space and landscape, and we need to all be championing that to governments, local, national, international organisations, and that's what this plan commits us to do.
And I think which is really interesting, this next list of embedded actions, there's something we can do at every level, isn't there, both at work, at the Institute, and influencing other professional bodies and organisations. And we're going to touch on a few of these today. Romy, I know you're totally on the ball when it comes to these goals. How do you find those applicable to our profession? Which are the key ones?
I think it's down to everybody individually and in practice to look at their own activities, consider their own business plans against this, because honestly, you could probably find something that's appropriate in all 17 of the SDGs. I mean, we're in a really fortunate position as landscape architects, landscape professionals, managers, scientists. You know, we are absolutely perfectly placed to start addressing this, which we all know. It's just really having more focus, I guess, on doing the right thing, maybe no more than that. And number 15, life on land, if we can't all address some part of that, then there's something wrong, to be honest. There are broader areas you can look at inequalities. We shouldn't forget, as much as this is about climate and biodiversity, that sustainability is about the 3 pillars. social, environmental and economic. So addressing inequality is as important, and all of these 17 key factors will start to bring about a more sustainable society. So it needs to be quite broad and thinking about sustainability as a whole, but you also then need to start looking at perhaps how your business plans could be framed around these goals. And it's one of the areas we will be giving advice and training on to assist everybody individually and at corporate level to do that.
Wonderful, thank you. And I think it's been 12 months since we had the declaration last year, and I know I've been involved in it. I've seen the hard work of so many, and I think it's important, don't you, Dan, to mention those that have been on the panel that have brought this together and are continuing to work with us.
Yeah, look, this would only have been possible we with the help of a wide range of members, and importantly non-members from the UK and beyond. We had people on this panel even from the Canadian Society of Landscape Architects as well. We had quite a few members on the panel from the Chartered Institute of Ecology and Environmental Management, as well as Landscape Institute members, some of them duly qualified and some from the construction sector on this group. And it was really good having that multidisciplinary, those who participated in this group, were really appreciative of that multidisciplinary approach, because this is only going to be achieved working across disciplines. And if we want to accelerate change, we have to collaborate to do it. And so all the way along with this project, we've taken that collaborative approach and looking for those who have expertise and interest in this topic area. And, they have done an excellent job in coming up with many of the targeted recommendations around what's really needed first in this sector. And that's been incredibly helpful from a professional perspective for us to take that on board and embed that in our plans going forward. So thank you to each and every one of you for that major contribution.
Yeah, and I'd like to add to that my thanks to Ben and Theo from the LI team. There's a huge amount of work that goes on at the Landscape.
Also, best thank Dr. Alex Hillier, who led the project as a consultant for us as well. Sorry, I did, he really led bring them together as well. So really important person in this.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. But like I say, thank you to the guys that work at the Landscape Institute, and Ben and Theo have worked incredibly hard to pull this together. So they're kind of the unsung heroes that do a lot of the foot soldier work out there. So thank you very much. Okay, so you'll be able to, 12 o'clock, you say, Dan, that this is going to be launched. So folks will be able to download it as a PDF, and we'll share a link on our social media platforms and on the website. So do take a look at it, go through it, and let us have your feedback. It's almost like a live document. Also,
Adam, next month, at the end of June, we're going to run a special session just on climate change at the end of June on another one of our LI webinars. So if you've got a real passion and interest, there is actually a call. And if you're out there and you want to help us on the journey, do email climate@landscapeinstitute.org and look to join the webinar that's just dedicated to this at the end of June, because there's a big call to action. We're only going to be able to achieve the plan by working with each and every one of you as well. So if you want to get involved, let us know, because we're going to need the help of people, particularly if you know of experts in some of those areas Romy mentioned around things like embodied carbon in the supply chain, environmental net gain. They're our two primary focus areas moving forward.
This is very much the start. This is not the end. So we encourage membership and associated professionals, whoever you are out there, to get in touch and do get involved. We can only achieve this all working together. So I don't know, have we got any questions or feedback on this? We can pick some up. If you do want to leave any questions, or you think after today, I wish I'd asked them that question, please do get in touch afterwards and we can reply to you directly.
Yeah, it looks like there's no questions at the moment. So
well, I think there will be after 12 o'clock once they've downloaded and had a good look through it. So we'll make ourselves available. I'm now going to hand over to Dan, and he's going to talk through entry standards and LI competency framework. So I am going to press the stop share. You ready to reboot yours, Dan? Let's go for it.
Let's be 1 minute.
It's a big headset you've got on there, Romy. You look like your air traffic control.
I'm going to get some ping pong bats next time.
Hi, everyone. I hope you can see my
yeah, full screen, Dan.
Excellent. Okay. Well, I'm talking around a really important, another important project that we've got out for consultation at the moment. It's our entry standards and particularly our Allied Competency Framework project. This is actually part of our new strategy, which is around making sure that the Landscape Institute can represent all of the different professionals in landscape. From its origins in garden architecture through to developing landscape architecture, the profession's really gone through a lot of change, and particularly in the last 3 decades or so, it's become quite a multidisciplinary profession. And so what we're really wanting to make sure we do is make sure that we're relevant to the full spectrum of people working in landscape today. And when you go out to practices, there's all sorts of people now in landscape practice, and they don't necessarily have a professional body home. And so this project's around making sure we can actually be relevant to all of those different people. It's important that, you know, in a profession, one of the important things that makes up one of the 5 key elements of what is a profession is having standards and conditions of entry. Not just anyone can actually join us as a professional body. You actually have to, in terms of to become a professional member, you've actually got to have the relevant skills and experience. And that's our undertaking to the public under our Royal Charter to actually make sure that standards are upheld and services are delivered in an appropriate way to society at large. So a little bit around our new framework, and you will have seen this once before in terms of a member consultation last year, but it's been developed up to almost its final state now. And going forward, we've grouped all of the skill sets that exist right across the profession today. So you don't, when you have a look at this, and this has been out for a couple of weeks already, these describe a mirror image of all of the skills that this profession needs to deliver its services. And it describes them at 4 different levels. And we're going to be using this for all sorts of different things. So for CPD recording in the future, when that comes in online soon, we're also going to be using it for assessing fellows of the Institute. We're also going to use it for our P2C processes. And you can also use it in your own company for working out what skills you need for your company, or indeed progression of your own staff. So it's something that can be, it's just a skills framework really that describes everything that's unique to this profession. And what we've done is we've really worked hard talking to employers and members around just the breadth of skills that are needed in a modern business and modern organizations. And so you'll see there a new set of professional competencies that extend a bit further than we've had before. Importantly, they start to include the use of digital and data. They also have a much stronger commitment to communication and engagement. Equality and diversity is there for the first time. And things you traditionally expect there, professional judgment, ethics and values being something that people are going to need at the highest level to enter the profession going forward. You'll also see a mix of landscape competencies, and this is around what we see as the common elements that everyone should have regardless of what field of practice you're in. So it doesn't matter if you're a landscape architect, a planner, a parks manager, a garden designer, or a digital practice expert. These are the things we're going to expect that are there for all the profession. And you'll see a new one there that we've never had before. And in line with our commitments earlier today, sustainability, climate and resilience, for the new scheme when it starts to operate the end of next year, for new people coming into the pathway to chartership in the future, that's going to be a core skill that everyone needs to have. And that's just one example as to how we're embedding that commitment on climate and biodiversity into everything we do. And obviously not everyone's going to need everything at the same level. It's going to differ depending on the job you're in. But this is a really important and fundamental overhaul of our skill sets for the profession. It's also quite exciting because it actually shows the things that you really please there as well. We've got healthy places, particularly after recent weeks and months, as being core skills for the profession going forward as well. So important things there for people to engage with. And I know many of our members have already been engaging on this already. Now, this is also something new. We've actually stripped out specialisms that are unique to individual people. And so there's going to be a lot more choice in the future for people to pick the skills that they've focused on through their study and through their work. And we're also going to be separating out what it means to be a chartered landscape architect, preserving that concept of that sort of design, planning, implementation skill sets. There's going to be restricted things that are essential for chartered landscape architects, but we're also going to have a new chartered landscape professional pathway that will be more relevant for scientists, ecologists, managers, and other disciplines like digital and data going forward. So it's around us making sure we've got a way to have some different pathways into the profession for a wider diversity of skill sets, and starting to recognise those other fields of practice that do exist and are really critical to landscape practice today. So it's open for consultation. We want to hear from members, and it's been the basis and built up by technical authors, and many members have been contributing and employers already. We really want people to look at this now from the point of view of your field of practice that you're an expert in. Do we have them right? Do we have the right skill sets there? And is there anything unique to your field of practice that we need to include? And you know, is there anything that that's right for you? I just covered today some of the things that apply to landscape architects and landscape professionals, because most of you are already qualified on sessions like today. But the other things that we've got coming through also, really important new greater membership, landscape technician, really exciting. We've got apprenticeships set to be approved this year, set to start being delivered next year. And we needed to create a new level of membership that we'd never had before. Be really relevant to a lot of people in graphic design and digital, also be relevant to a lot of people in parks management. So actually really important new greater membership for us that we need. If you've got, and you know, I do this call out, if you've got landscape technicians who work for you and landscape assistants in your practices, please do get their details across to us at the LI, because we really want to start, you know, having discussions with them and getting them involved in the Institute going forward, and getting them, you know, to maybe pilot and trial that new greater membership soon. So yeah, I think that's a really important call to action there as well. If you do want to have your say, we've got workshops by practice areas, and there could be a few more added, because we've done some of the ones on landscape planning sold out actually in terms of its interest. So it's a really important point now to get this right. We need to be accurate. We need to be reflective of the examples that are relevant to you in your different job roles. They're the dates there. You can book on Eventbrite, check the events page on the LI website. But we've had a lot of interest in this, and we really want you to sign up to the one that is your primary field of practice, because it'd be very helpful to us at this point. So I just noticed there is a question there. And we've got a question that's come through from Paul Osborne saying, I believe that urban design was included as a specialist competency. Is it still included? Yes, absolutely. And urban design is there within the specialist competency. So it's described as public realm design in the competency area, and it's absolutely there. So that is something we're very keen to engage more with people in terms of the urban design community, because there's many who don't have that professional body home, as I've said before. I'll keep continuing on, and this is something I may well bring in Romy in some of the discussions on this as well. This is also another side of our standards work that I wanted to share with you today, and this is a little bit of a sneak preview, if you like, and this is around what's coming up in terms of global ethical principles for the profession and a new LI code of practice. And last year we had over the last couple of years, actually, we've been working with IFLA, and this was something we've needed to update for a period of time. And in 2018, we offered to lead this project globally for IFLA. They've contributed to it, but the LI's basically led the development of new global ethical principles for the landscape profession that'll go out for consultation a little bit later this year. And we've updated our new code of practice to go alongside it. This will replace our code of conduct eventually. So you're getting first eyes on this today. So, you know, and again, it's one of the core bits of what it means to be a profession, and ethical rules and professional standards are critical to that. we've also been a signatory to the International Ethical Standards, and talking of collaboration, this is a group of mostly built environment professional bodies, many of whom you would work with across the world. And we've signed up with these principles, and we've made sure these principles are included in both the new global principles we've created for landscape, and also the new code of practice. And again, you'll note there though, for the construction and real estate industry, they don't have much at all, and in fact nothing on sustainability. And so one of the things for us that's sort of quite groundbreaking is that we are putting sustainability into ours, and I'll come back to that in a minute. And we'll be wanting to put pressure on others to follow suit in other professions in the future as well. But if you look at the risks facing the world, you see that the World Economic Forum always do a global risk register each year. And you can see the likelihood and impact. Everything in green there are the things that very much this profession needs to and can help with solutions. So whether it be the biodiversity loss, climate action failure, human-made environmental disaster and natural disasters, there's a very strong role for the landscape profession to play in coming up with solutions. But this is rising up the business agenda as top risks, and you can see that being a major issue for us going forward, and something that's actually going to put this profession at the forefront of solving some of these issues. But with that comes responsibility, because we need to be trusted to deliver. As we said earlier, we need to have the right skills and the right knowledge to do so. And so it's really critical that at this point we also update what our codes of practice are to do that. I mean, I don't know, Romy, if you wanted to jump in on that at all.
Yeah, I think it's key that environmental is taking the biggest part of 2020's concerns. I think also if you look through the other areas, again, landscape architects, the breadth of our profession, other landscape professionals, we are absolutely perfectly placed to start dealing with these issues. Obviously the environmental, we can pretty much tick all of those boxes, but look at societal, the failure of urban planning, food crises, water crises, social instability, even geopolitical weapons of mass destruction, terrorist attacks. If you're, moving into very niche areas like hostile vehicle mitigation, the specialisms we have across our profession are all well placed to address that top line. And we need to collaborate, and we need to make other people aware of the role that we can play.
So these are some of the ethical principles that we've developed in draft form. They're going to go out for consultation in the middle of this year and be discussed further at the IFLA World Council meeting that's going to be online now in September. So we've been working in partnership with IFLA to develop these, but the allies led on them. And you'll see there that the first two put the environment and quality of life, both for now and future generations, and also recognizing that issue of the climate and biodiversity emergency front and center in these new ethical principles. And then the others, as you work through them, are things that are probably there already that people do, making sure that you respect, don't discriminate, that there's also compliance with national and international law, also the services you provide in this field of practice that you're competent to deliver in, and making sure that there's service provision is high quality, and that the professionals uphold the integrity of both the profession and their relationship with their regulator and national body. These principles are intended to kind of sit above all organisations in landscape right across the world. IFLA's looking to adopt them, we're looking to adopt them, and that'll be done within the next 12-month period, and probably for coming into force sometime in the second half of next year. Everyone will have the chance to comment on them. They have guidance that'll sit underneath them. This is just a high-level overview today. But then we are also going to be looking at our own code of practice, and we're going to change it from code of conduct because it goes way beyond just your behaviour. The code of practice is much more applicable as a title for describing ethical requirements on the profession. And you'll see there, sustainability, number one, but then a wide range of key issues that are really critical for the modern world. Things like the ethics of managing data, CPD requirements that we've had for a long time, conflicts of interest and transparency. So this will really modernise our ethics and following those ethical principles in our code of practice, but it's also going to help the landscape profession right around the world with the work that we've done. We're one of the larger landscape bodies. We're one of the ones that created IFLA. So we do have a responsibility to, help particularly those in emerging markets and all. And many of them are going to be adopting ethical principles for the first time in terms of this piece of work. So it's quite an important leadership role that the profession's played. Need to thank our recently departed Director of Standards, Sarah Lutfi, who'd worked on these. And also, in addition to Adam and Romy, who were at IFLA in Oslo, our delegate to IFLA, Niall Williams as well, who has been very collaborative in his working with the with our fellow national bodies around the world. And James Hayter and I and Ruth Lake in my team are working now on the timetable for a consultation on this for the middle of this year. It will take a bit of time because we're going to have to work collaboratively with all the other national associations as well. So that's the next step on that though. So over to you, Adam.
Okay, so Dan, if you want to stop doing the screen share and I will take control. Okay, hello everybody. And Niall is tuning in, he's out there, so hello Niall, listening from Birmingham. Okay, so now, by the power of magic, I've got control again. So it goes without saying, we all need a ray of sunshine in our lives right now. And I don't think there's any better way. Don't worry, Romy, I'm not going to mention what you think is on the screen there. No, I'm talking about the all-new Landscape Institute Awards. We've worked really hard to develop them and build on last year's awards. And it goes without saying that they are a key moment in the landscape calendar. A big shout out and thanks to Hardscape for being our headline sponsors again. It's really important. They wouldn't happen without our sponsors, so they do need a mention. And a thanks to the team behind the awards that helps make them happen, and particularly these awards because we've overhauled them. And I just want to say thank you to Tom Armour, to David and to the awards committee, to the board and Ben and Rachel, who've worked over the last 2 years really, Dan, isn't it, to get to where we are.
That's right.
And it's very much focused on people, place and nature. We're going to tell you a little bit more about what that means in a moment. And you'll see there are new categories. But do you know what? Instead of me explaining them, let's show you a cheeky little film. Very dramatic, that, wasn't it? And rightly so. We really want the awards to build on last year's success and be an outward celebration of what we are all about across the profession and beyond. So Dan, the awards, how do people enter this year? What's different this year?
Look, everything now is online, which is, really important. All submissions are online. It's already open for entering. You've got there till the 17th of July. We'll also very soon be doing an open call for judges, and that's open to members and non-members who have the right kind of expertise in all the different categories. And I think that's something that's really important as well. Our awards are judged objectively and fairly, and it's not the same set of people judging each category every year. And this year with many new categories, we're going to need some new judges in the new fields that we've got as well. So watch out for that. During June, we're going to be making those calls for think during late May and early June, we're going to be making that call for judges as well. But everything's online. All the information's there at awards.landscapeinstitute.org, and you can enter. And I know there's been lots of people entering already and registering. The first step is you kind of buy your entry, and then you've got time to up until the 17th of July to then put your submission in. So it's quite a simple process, and we've also updated all of our judging criteria, as Adam mentioned, to make it simpler and more consistent. And again, in line with our climate declaration and climate action plan, sustainability is now a core criteria in almost every category.
Yeah. And last year, you must have been living in a cave if you didn't see the news that Sir David Attenborough was our special guest. He was made an honorary fellow and was given a Lifetime Achievement Award. I've been writing to him over these last couple of months, and he's safe, he's at home, and he's all well, but he has given us permission. He was really interested in what the profession does, to have an award related to enhancing biodiversity. So that will be one of the new categories. So, I mean, it's a real highlight. This is the exclusive. We are announcing today that there will be the Sir David Attenborough Award for Excellence in Enhancing Biodiversity. So you'll see that when you go online, the description of what that involves. And it's a real special moment, building on the success of last year. There will be a number of other announcements coming about the awards ceremony. But as regards the categories, there is a dedicated website, as Dan mentioned. There are some brilliant new categories, and it's more about the output of our projects as opposed to the label that goes with them. So for me, I'm really interested in looking at the climate change, excellence in tackling that, health and well-being. We've got an excellence in landscape construction, and I know Wayne's there from Bali. So hello, Wayne, thanks for tuning in. So this is celebrating the people that not only deliver these projects, but manage and maintain them afterwards. So many times at these sort of awards, you see a big image of the completed project. And it's long overdue that we acknowledge those that have been involved in realising the design and the management plan. I don't know if there's any on there that are jumping out at either Dan or Romy that you're excited to see.
Yeah, look, I think the other thing is, that we've recognised for landscape and parks management for the first time, adding parks management in there, and the fact that, that we've got a partnership with the Institute of Place Management as well. So landscape, place and parks managers are really welcome to enter the awards now. And also recognising fields of practice like garden design and also, moving that from heritage and conservation to culture, thinking around the people side of things as much as the history as well. There's really some critical changes there. I think on this next one, I think the place regeneration one's an important new one as well, with the High Streets Task Force, that the allies at the forefront of that with other partners. We're really excited to have that one as a new one in there. And some of our traditional ones like landscape planning and assessment, master planning and urban design always have great entries. Adam, I know there's one or two here.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of my favourites, but I know one on there that Romy and her son will be interested in, because they helped with our RHS Chelsea and Hampton Back to Nature Garden with Andre and I last year, and that's excellence in horticulture. But is there anything in there, Romy, that you're really excited to see this year, apart from maybe that? Or that?
Are we going to win that this year? Yeah, I think for me it's more about broadening these categories. I think it's absolutely in line with the direction we're taking at an entire institute level, broadening the profession, broadening the categories, making them more inclusive, diverse. I think these reflect that as a principle really well. So I'm excited that, we've got to that point. Yeah, none of the particular categories. I think they'll all be brilliant, as they always are.
Yeah. That new one as well, I think it's worth saying that the visualization and digital practice one, Adam, that you've been a big champion of, will reward everything from the traditions of the profession of drawing and art all the way through to the digital practice of today. So, the two go hand in hand in many regards. So it's going to be really interesting to see what we get in terms of creativity in that category this year.
Yeah, there's so many professionals out there that to prepare and work on visualization and in the digital world, and digital landscapes is a huge part of the future of our profession. I was speaking to the head of the gaming design course at Salford University, and their syllabus for their entry to go on that course almost parallel to landscape architecture. It's, you know, ecology, biodiversity, geology, they're all in there. So yeah, it's something that's really important. And the one before that, close to my heart, that image is from the President's Award last year, which is community engagement, a skill in its own right, and rightly so, being acknowledged now. There are so many professionals out there fostering ownership of projects, not just consulting, but engaging in the process. And I just want to go to this next one, because this is something that Dan and I have spoken about over the last couple of years, is how we open up our awards and invite those that aren't members or aren't involved in a registered practice. And this is what these four are all about, aren't they, Dan?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I am always a big fan of this Landscape Innovation Award, because wherever the innovation happens, whether it's science or research from anywhere around the world, it could have massive impacts on practice of tomorrow. And I think that's something we want researchers, we want those leading fields of practice in unique areas to share that, and because that's going to be very rewarding for our membership to get the latest in terms of what's come through in that field. The other that's been incredibly successful since we introduced it is the Dame Sylvia Crowe International Award. Regularly gets around 30 entries in it. It's one of the most competitive of all the awards categories now. And from Middle East, China, Europe and the Americas, you know, we get entries from right around the world in that one. It's a really premium award, that one, in terms of the national.
And we've got landscape legacy there, and I often have this conversation with my brother, who's an architect, and he says the moment a building's complete and the keys are handed over, that's its finest day. And he said, your landscape, so long as they're well managed and maintained, and we've talked about that earlier, that's where landscape has a real legacy. So I'd encourage people to, you know, it might not be their project, but they might know a space or a landscape or a garden that they think's amazing, that's matured and maybe serves a different purpose to what it was originally envisaged. That category is open, so anyone can enter it. And partnership and collaboration, it runs through all we do, and it will do in the future at the Institute. So that's a great opportunity. If you're involved in a team, put yourself forward for that project. These two, Dan, I know these are your favourites.
Yeah, because it's really important that we recognise the people behind the profession as well. And these were relatively new categories that we've launched over the last couple of years. They've been in there about 2 years now. And, you know, Volunteer of the Year, we always awarded our Jellicoe lecture now, you know, to great volunteers. The most recent winner was Bill Blackledge. He's done a lot of work up in the Yorkshire and Humber region and on our technical committee. But also equally the different types of new landscape professionals of the year. And it's deliberately called New Landscape Professional because we also have many career changes. So it's for someone who's in the first 5 years of their practice showing emerging talent really, and commitments to beyond their job to helping others and helping society. So it's a really important award. And the winner this year, Monica Nair from Atkins in India, was just sensational. She blew us away with her speech at our ceremony, one of our last in-person events we did at the LI before the lockdown. And, you know, with people like that coming through the profession right around the world, it just goes to show how internationally recognised the LI credential is, and, you know, the amazing people with their amazing stories around the world.
Yeah, and the next generation, we've talked about it. Dan's got his Choose Landscape. Romy, you've got your badge on there, haven't you? I can see. I've got my sticker. Dan's got a banner. He's outdoing all of us. So the next generation is incredibly important. And at the CMLI graduation ceremony, we met so many of them this year, both the Dissertation Award and the Portfolio Award. And we encourage those out there that are thinking, I might win this. Oh, welcome back, Mark. He's just disappeared behind his banner. So, yeah, the student category is really, really important. But I think I just want to focus on this one before we just move on to those all-important dates. And Dan, what's this about, the Building with Nature Award?
Look, we behind the scenes described this as the fourth plinth award, where from time to time we're going to enter into partnerships with different organisations for a 3-year period to trial different awards linked to really important work areas in our sector. And many of our members over many years have worked with the Building with Nature partnership, which is run by one of the wildlife trusts out in Gloucestershire. And many of our members are involved in the research phases of it. And it's all around embedding green infrastructure within new housing and getting certification of those new schemes. And so our members are becoming the assessors and actively involved in the standard setting in this arena. And so we wanted to kind of start to celebrate this, because this is a very important area of work for our members in terms of working with housing. but also a huge opportunity area to improve. So that's why we've got this in the awards for the next 3 years we're looking at, and it's a really exciting new one. You will it is sort of semi-closed, this one, because you will have had to have had that certification issued to actually enter this. But I know there's many projects up in places like Scotland who've been using this, right around the UK, and so it's going to be something that we build upon in future years, but also to really, you know, show the housing sector how they can do better in terms of green infrastructure going forward. And I think, you know, it's just part of our effort to promote the important role of the profession in improving and coming up with those nature-based solutions. Yeah.
So everybody out there, you're all excited now. I can tell you're all thinking, on what project am I going to enter, want to get involved. You want that Attenborough Award, you want the Sylvia Crow, you're looking at them. These are the all important dates. So open for entries. There's your deadline. It's all online, as Dan mentioned. There's a dedicated website to do it. It's a really simplified process. And if you don't think you've got a project, please do get in touch and put yourself forward for one of the judges. It's a great experience. Those that have been involved in judging will tell you it's a real honour, really, isn't it?
Adam might not know this, so sorry, Adam, for putting you on the spot, but after our next LI leadership webinar in June, we're looking to actually concurrently run a workshop on the awards to talk around, you know, if you've got specific questions, take your time and start getting your entries together. But we're going to have some of our expert judges on hand, and some of those have been involved in developing the new categories, because we know there might be lots of questions around the new awards. Do send them in ahead of time as well to us. And you know, if you go on the awards site, do fill in the contact forms and send the questions in, and we will try and you know, cover some of the key questions that have come up early in June, so that, you know, so that we do know that with new categories, it's a change from what we've done in the past, and we want to provide that extra level of support for you all. So that's something that's going to come up in early June, the first week of June or so.
That's a really good point, Dan, because there'll be people out there going, I've got this project. Does it fit in biodiversity, climate? Is it a small landscape?
Exactly.
Is it health and well-being? And yes, this is fantastic, but we do need to encourage people to enter, but to do that, they need to understand where their particular project might fit. So that's fantastic news that we'll be running that as well. Okay, Dan, do you want to take control of this next one, or do you want me to toggle the slides?
You can just toggle it, Adam. Okay. It's fine. And should we just check the questions, because there seems to be a few questions in.
Can people hear me? Because someone's lost everyone's audio. Just had a message that our audio was down to Claire Rockhurst, but it could be at their end. So everyone can hear me okay, can't you, Adam? And yep, and
yeah,
okay. And there's a question around what's the change we can expect in the area of play equipments, outdoor fitness, etc. Thanks. So Adam, that's probably in terms of play, outdoor equipment and outdoor fitness and all. Where would that kind of things?
Yeah, well, I would, you know, with play, it's about health and well-being, and it's also about connecting with nature. I'm hoping our members are designing playful landscapes and not just plonking stuff in a space. So there is a number, actually, there's a webinar around play. If you find me on social media at Davis_White, I'll send you a link to that. But as regards to the awards, it's about the output of using that space.
If it was design, it could be the small landscapes and garden design one. But as Adam said, also the health and well-being one would quite often fit it, particularly if it had that health dimension now to it. But it could be up against all sorts of different entries now in those sort of outcomes focused ones.
No, and that's rightly so. Play shouldn't just be plonked in a corner of a category of its own. One of the most frustrating things Andre and I find with the play spaces we design is that some adults forget where their inner child is, and it's quite buried quite deep. We all forget how to play. It doesn't stop at a certain age. So every landscape we design should have that element of humour and fun and playfulness in it. And I'd encourage people, if they're not designing with play in mind, even when it's not a play space, to do so. And if you've got some cracking examples, get them entered in the awards. I'd love to see them. It's like bias there. Okay, Dan.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. And yeah, we've been obviously, you know, turning our attention to providing a lot of extra support for members during this difficult time. Webinars like this are a new feature we've added. We hope people are appreciative of them. And we've created an updated resources and support page. does look like in our sector, there's from the announcements this week, there's a few more opening up of construction in England at least. But you know, in other nations, there's still greater restrictions in Scotland and Wales still. So please just do take care in terms of follow our advice. It still stands strong in terms of the new guidance we've prepared of checking your local national guidance before taking steps in terms of how you manage any sort of site visits or outdoor work. But I do think that our sector's uniquely placed off the back of this, and we're now turning our attention to having conversations. And you know, I just saw the note from Wayne from Bali. We're actually meeting with a range of the CEOs tomorrow to discuss, you know, how we're all coping with this crisis in different sectors across the natural environment. So we've got Bali, likes the Chartered Institute of Forestry, and SIEM and others, Amenity Forum and others. So tomorrow that we're meeting with to just sort of, as organisations, talk to each other, help each other, support each other, share the advice and guidance we're giving each other, but also starting to turn our attention to what does a green and climate resilient recovery look like. And that's where I'll be, you know, myself and also know Jane Finlay, our President-elect, are going to be really keen on engaging with particularly our registered practices and others to look at what our recovery needs to look like for the landscape profession and related industries. And to be honest, we could be one of the first back to work. So, you know, in more, you know, so there's an opportunity there for us to actually talk around green jobs of the future and actually nature-based solutions, because it could get people who can't work in other industries back into an industry, and particularly things like apprenticeships will help as well that we have. So that's sort of where we're starting to turn our attention from, you know, dealing with the crisis in terms of how you can work or not, to actually what would recovery look like. So really would welcome people's ideas on that. If you've got some today, send them through while we're finishing this off, or get in touch after with the LI in terms of offering your ideas to us, particularly to our team, policy@landscapeinstitute.org. The other thing we're doing is the LI campus for all our existing members is free up until June 30 if you want to get a 12-month subscription. It's our Netflix for learning, and it's really got all of our content from the last 3 years of CPD days and conferences and events. We're also open to other partners putting their content on, and as forming partnership agreements with other organisations. We don't want it just to be around ourselves. We want best content that you need. So let us know what else you might need on there. We're all really open to topics. We've also started to change our pricing. So the awards, we've actually reduced the pricing for this year, recognising that people may be doing it a bit tougher. So we have reduced the prices for all the categories, and there's also special fees for sole traders and the public sector. Not many people actually took those up last year, so I would encourage you to do so if you want to enter the awards. There is that differential pricing there for you. And for member renewals, that's currently underway. We are deferring payments for up to 3 months if you want to do via direct debit on a monthly scheme, just recognising this difficult period and if you need a little bit of a break. But also, as a small organisation, membership is fundamental to this, you know, the running of the Institute. So if you can afford it, do still pay up front. But if not, we've also put that in place for you as well, just recognising the times we're in. And you know, if you've got other ideas or anything else you need, do get in touch with us. The team are really, you know, we're doing a lot of extra effort on topics and support for you all at this difficult time.
That's wonderful, Dan. And talking of support, this is, and I've said it before, it's one of the highlights of my presidency, is building these relationships up and formalising them in the last couple of weeks. And that's both with Perennial and with the Architects Benevolent Society, two organisations I've supported as a practitioner, and Andre and I at Davis White have supported. So I'm delighted the LI has formalised their relationship with them now. And we've reached out and we've strengthened these important relationships. And I'm delighted to welcome Kate and Mark are here. So Kate from Perennial and Mark from the Architects Benevolent Fund. Now, Mark, I believe you're there. The last time I spoke to Mark was 2 days ago, and he had a beard. Lockdown beard has gone, but a banner's appeared behind him. So, Mark, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and allow you to boot up yours and tell us a little bit about the Architects Benevolent Society and how we can help as an organisation.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, thanks very much. I'll just see if I can share the screen. I think I've got everything there. Yes, that's right. Well, yeah, thanks very much for having me. It's a privilege to speak to your members today. I just want to talk to you briefly about who we are and what we do as a charity. Architects Benevolent Society have been around since 1850, so this year we're celebrating 170 years. We were supposed to be having a big event to celebrate it, but obviously, sadly, that cannot happen. So we'll have to do something next year and get the Landscape Institute involved as well. So as the name suggests, we sort of only help architects, and that's not true. We've over the 170 years, we've sort of progressed as a charity, and we're now able to sort of support the sort of wider architectural community. I'll just see. I think may have to go into a different screen. Actually, this doesn't seem to be working. Bear with me. Sorry, a sec.
If you want to, Mark, I can do your slides and move them on.
It's okay. I think I've managed to.
There you go. Reboot it.
Sort it now from the beginning. Here we go. So I'll just briefly tell you a bit about who we are and what we do. This is a quote from a landscape architect called Thomas, who we helped. We think it sort of sums it up quite nicely about when the unexpected can happen in life, and needing somebody to turn to. This is Thomas. Thomas had a bike accident, or he fractured his spine, and he was off work for a considerable amount of time. And the ABS were able to offer him benefit advice and financial support until he was well enough to return to work, which took a good few months. So he was fortunate enough to contact us, and we were able to give him the support he needed. The same here with Ian. Ian, another bike accident. Unfortunately, it was a lot worse with Ian. He was paralysed from the chest down. So we teamed up with another organisation to fund him with some specialist equipment for the house, as well as this wheelchair, which cost £5,000. Again, Max here, another Landscape Institute member. He didn't expect for his brother to be diagnosed with leukemia, and he had to be an organ donor for his brother. So he was off work for a considerable amount of time too, and he was just between jobs at the time, and his new employer sort of understood his situation, and we gave him some benefit advice as well as a grant until he was well enough to get back to work. He had obviously a lot of bills that he had to pay while he wasn't working. Theo here didn't expect both of his parents to sadly die. Both his parents were architects. Theo, being the eldest sibling, had to support his younger siblings, so we gave him some financial support until his benefits were able to kick in. And Mark and Portia didn't expect to be diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. Lots of adaptations need to be made to their home, a stair lift being one of them. So we teamed up with another charity to provide that for them. And lastly, James here. James was studying architecture at university. He was doing his part 2, and his grandmother sadly passed away. His relationship with his girlfriend ended, and he started to sort of spiral out of control a bit, and he started to have suicidal thoughts. He started to act on those thoughts, and we were alerted by one of his tutors at university. His tutor convinced James to come to us for support, and we gave him 12 sessions of therapy through Anxiety UK, which was all funded by ABS. James is now doing really well, and we check on him every now and then to see how he's doing. But that's just a little snapshot of some of the people that we're able to support. And as the name suggests, we only help architects, and as I mentioned, we help the wider architectural profession, so landscape architects, assistants, AT professionals, their families, and students. There's a common misconception, obviously, that we, being one of these really old benevolent funds, we're just here to pay for a pensioner's heating bills, and why that might be true to some degree. We're able to help in a lot more sort of ways, and one of them being financial assistance. So we're able to give grants and interest-free loans. We top up any statutory support that people would get from the government. We always make sure people are able to claim the benefits that they're entitled to before we offer the financial assistance. So we do a financial assessment on an individual or a couple or a family, and see how much they would be entitled to through our support. but we always make sure that we you know, maximize their sort of what benefits that they can receive as well. And obviously we have some a dedicated welfare team that are able to offer sort of confidential advice and support in a really holistic way. And if there's something that we can't help with as a charity, we have a number of partners as well, which we're able to signpost to. Some of those partners are charities such as Anxiety UK, Shelter England, OT Practice, Step Change. So we're always able to signpost and forward on. This is our welfare team, Helen and Aidan. They spend their time equally travelling around the country, visiting beneficiaries in their care homes, hospices, and hospitals. At the moment, obviously, we can't do that due to COVID. So they're on the phone to beneficiaries quite a lot, making sure that they're well looked after. And those that are receiving regular support are continuing to do so. So just a bit about Anxiety UK. This is one of our relatively new partnerships. This is something that I've been speaking to Dan Cook about over the last year or so, and I'm really trying to promote across all of the membership bodies that we support. Anxiety UK, we have a partnership with them. They have a network of approved therapists throughout the UK. The support that they offer is quite fast. If you were to go down the sort of the usual route of trying to see a counsellor through the NHS, through your doctor, you can be waiting, unfortunately, up to about 8 months to see a counsellor. But through our support, through Anxiety UK, you can be seeing a counsellor within 2 to 3 weeks. It's very, very fast, and it's all paid for by ABS. We will typically pay for about 12 sessions of counselling or CBT. And if more is needed, then we will assess that situation. We don't do a financial assessment on the individual. We see this as quite an urgent thing. So what would happen typically is somebody would come to us for support. We would forward them on to Anxiety UK, who will then perform a wellbeing assessment on the individual to see what level of support is needed. It can be done obviously face to face, but obviously not at the moment. Over the phone, by Skype, or by email. And it's like I said, it's a really fast and a free service to anybody who meets our eligibility criteria. Our eligibility criteria states that you have to have worked in the UK in the profession for 1 year to qualify for any support through ABS. So if you meet that criteria, please, and you feel like you need support, then please contact ABS, and we'll be more than happy to help you. Just very quickly, these are some of our ambassadors. Our ambassadors are a network of volunteers across the UK that help us spread our geographical reach, that help us raise awareness and get involved in fundraising initiatives. It's quite a diverse bunch. We have some, as you can see, Nigel Thorne, which is, I think, a past president of the Landscape Institute. He's one of our ambassadors, and he's a trustee of the Architects Benevolent Society also. And we have Sam Shaw as well as one of our ambassadors based up in Scotland. So they do incredible work in helping us spread awareness and raising funds for us. If anybody was interested in becoming an ambassador, I can tell you more about it. You can contact us through our website, or you can get my details through the Landscape Institute, and we can send you a role description, tell you a bit more about what it entails. And lastly, I just want to quickly talk to you about what we've been doing with COVID-19. Since lockdown has happened, we've obviously put out a response of the level of support that is available to people through this crisis. We've seen a 60% increase in the number of calls and emails we've been receiving, and our financial spend since lockdown has been over £135,000 going to individuals and families through this crisis. So therefore, we've launched an emergency appeal for people to donate, so they can do so as of today. And I'm very pleased to also say a huge thank you to the Landscape Institute, who have really helped us through this appeal and donated very, very kindly £1,000 towards this appeal. We're going to be running this appeal throughout the whole year. So I'd like to take this opportunity to say thank you very much to Dan Cook and Adam White, who basically got in touch with us as soon as lockdown happened and said, how can the Landscape Institute help? And what can you do in terms of helping our members who might be going through this crisis and needing support. So please, if you do need support, please contact us. Our website is at the bottom there. And of course, we're on social media. Please support the appeal, if you like, by making a donation. And if you know of somebody who might need support, please try and persuade them to get in touch with us. It's what we're here for. So lastly, that's it. Thank you very much for listening to me. And I hope you've got something from all of that about our support.
Thank you.
And if you've got any questions, yeah, please ask. Cheers.
Thank you very much, Mark. If you stop sharing your screen,
yep.
That would work a treat. So yeah, so those of you that were involved in LI90 last year, you'll have been aware that the Landscape Institute was founded at RHS Chelsea in 1929 as what was it, Dan? The British Association of Garden Architects. So this organisation we're going to hear from now, somebody that I've been supporting for a number of years now. So architects, and now let's go to what were originally called, Kate, what was the original name? Unmute yourself before I introduce you and tell me the actual name of Perennial. It was the Gardeners Benevolent, the Royal
Gardeners Benevolent Society.
There you go. So I'm delighted to welcome Kate Cooney, who is from Perennial Horticulture, helping people in horticulture. And the reason why we've invited both these two guys to come here, because the landscape profession's so broad, there may be areas of work you're involved in that the Architects Benevolent Fund might be more relevant, but there might be areas of the landscape profession that Perennial will be more relevant in. So that's why we've got them together. We're going to carry on supporting them in equal measures. So I'm delighted to welcome Kate. So hello, Kate. If you'd like to take control of the screen.
Yes, screen.
Here we go.
Everybody.
And we can hear a little bit about what Perennial have been up to. Here we go, everybody.
Yeah, it's working. Firstly, absolute massive thanks to the Landscape Institute for coming into partnership with us recently. Partnerships are absolutely integral to supporting the work that we do. And I'd not only like to thank Dan and Adam, but also Andrew, Natasha and Yvonne and Talia and anybody else I've missed for your phenomenal support in terms of helping us get the message out there to all of your members. It's really, really important. What I'd like to do is talk a little bit about who we are, who we help, how we help, and for some strange reason, I can't change my screen. Bear with.
There
we go. Firstly, we're the only charity that actually looks after everyone in horticulture and their family. And we work in terms of our service is absolutely free and confidential. And that's really important for people to know. Our past, present and future. I'm going to trump everybody today. Sorry, guys. We're 180. You've all got good pedigrees. We're 181 years old now, and we've changed with the times. Ironically, we were formed, particularly at the moment, ironically, we were formed in between two cholera pandemics. And like many good ideas, we started off in a pub in London, and we were formed by people to look after retired gardeners that worked for the stately homes. So there's our history. The idea grew, and Sir Robert Peel and Charles Dickens were two of our first speakers at our dinners. I have to read this bit because I don't want to misquote Charles Dickens, but he opened up his talk at one of these dinners. We don't know if that's the actual picture, I'll be perfectly honest. But he said, his gains are not great and knows gold and silver more as being the colours of fruit and flowers than the presence in his pockets. He is subjected to the kind of labour that renders him peculiarly liable to infirmity, And when old age comes upon him, the gardener is, of all men, perhaps best able to appreciate the benefits of the society. So that's what we were sort of formed with. Who we help? Anyone who professionally works with plants, flowers, trees or grass. We talk about our strapline is helping people in horticulture. One of the issues we sometimes face, and that's absolutely correct, but one of the issues we face is a lot of people that work in horticulture don't regard themselves as horticulturalists. So we would look after landscape architects, landscape managers, landscapers, garden designers, growers, nurseries, gardeners and grounds people. So it covers a whole sort of plethora of the industry, and we would always rather people, if they're not sure, come to us and we can signpost. We work very closely, as Mark said, talking about the architects. We work very closely with a wide variety of charities to make sure that nobody slips through the net at all. How we help? We give advice and help access government support. Last year we helped people access almost £4 million worth of government support and grants that they were entitled to. Our qualified IMA accredited debt advisors help people manage their money. We've got an online budgeting tool, but our advisors actually go and talk to people about managing their debts. And I have a very nasty feeling that that's going to be extra critical this year. And we also provide financial assistance to cover essential items, and I'll discuss that a little bit more in my next slide. And we offer sort of the 3 tiers of support, as it were, in no importance or order of importance at all. There's our online support, and people can simply go and look online and look for advice. There's lots of self-help tools there, and a lot of money and time and effort in terms of consulting professionals and professional bodies to make sure our advice is absolutely up to date. And again, the LI have been extremely good with sharing our links with members. There's a telephone advice service, so people can phone up and ask for advice. And I was speaking to a caseworker recently, and what's interesting is calls were up in the first 2 weeks of lockdown. Calls were up to us by almost 400%. I think the actual figure is 393%, but you'll forgive me for the extra 7%. And then we also offer a visit of one of our professional advisors. These are a network of 27 caseworkers that provide national coverage. I said I'd mention how we help. In normal times, there's sadly in ill health, and it's coming with the unexpected. There's accidents, sadly there's bereavement, money worries, homelessness, redundancy and family breakdown. And these happen no matter what the economy is doing. And again, as I wish to reiterate that we would always say to people, come to us and we can signpost even if we can't help you directly. We just don't want anybody to slip through the net. And go and have a look at our online resources. We talk about our prevent strategy, and our prevent strategy is very much about trying to catch things early. So no problem's too small. So even if somebody's feeling a little bit stressed, come and talk to us, because we would rather sort of stop somebody toppling in the water than catch them further downstream when they're sort of drowning. It's better for everyone. I said we'd talk about a little bit more in detail of 2019. I suspect this is going to be very skewed next year. Last year, there was a 10% increase on people that we helped in 2018. We provided 166 families with emergency food deliveries. We introduced a scheme last year for, I'm sure everybody's seen on the news, the lunchtime poverty that children that are entitled to free school meals get when going during the summer holidays. Those free school meals are taken away. So we introduced a scheme where low-income families could have financial support from us. We spent a huge increase on training, and that's sometimes reskilling people if they've had to change career, but also upskilling people that want to develop new skills that are appropriate for their work. And we provided over 100 people with very basic things, such as beds and washing machines. And we launched our budgeting tool, which I sort of previously mentioned, as well as our online mental health support network in partnership with the Big White Wall. And I would encourage, the links are on your website and our website, and I'd encourage people to go and have a look at how you can help. As I mentioned, thank you very much to the Landscape Institute for becoming a Perennial partner. There's lots of challenge events, and I have been absolutely dazzled by, really dazzled and impressed by, although we're concerned, as I'm sure Mark must be, in terms of cancellation of a lot of our events that are fundraising events. I've been really dazzled and impressed by the creativity of our supporters in terms of the virtual events. We've got somebody swimming the English Channel there and back virtually on their rowing machine. We've got online pub quizzes, all sorts that we were talking about earlier on, Adam. And there's all sorts. We're encouraging people to also organise their own fundraisers or shop online. The website's there for your Christmas cards, and sponsor us. Make us the charity of your choice. Join us at a special event and volunteer. But the most important thing that I'm appealing to for people today is tell people that you know that work in the industry that we're there for them, and no problem's too big or too small. We can talk and help. Hort Aid, it's a little bit similar to what Mark was talking about in terms of COVID has really affected some of our ability to fundraise. So we've arranged some, my creative colleagues in the marketing team have arranged some online things. So there's the Perennials online quiz night tonight with the magnificent Jeremy Storywalker, 8 o'clock, tune in. And then there's the Hort Aid gardening competition. Alan Titchmarsh, who's our president, is leading the very swish panel of judges, and it's people can submit, the details are on our website, but people can submit entries. And it's also nice for larger organisations can get your colleagues and all your employees to do it. And the professional garden designers, landscapers, gardeners out there, it has to be your own garden, but you can encourage your clients to enter on your behalf. That's it. Any questions?
Thank you very much. I am looking forward to tonight. Jeremy has a very shiny gold jacket, doesn't he? He wears for special occasions. So I'll see if he puts that on as quizmaster this evening. And we will, I know I can speak on behalf of the Institute, any of the links to both your organisations and to these events and fundraisers, we share with our membership. And the one thing I'd said to both Mark and Kate, what I'm really keen to do is lead by example and get our members together and start thinking about how we can do some sort of joint fundraising event, either in lockdown or after the lockdown, where we can support the both of you. And I know Dan's got a couple of things to say as well. So hello, Daniel. Yeah,
good day. And just on that point, actually, members like Sam Shore went to the cycle race, who cycled from Scotland to London last year for ABS. And I think, you know, if you want to become an ambassador or work with Perennial or ABS, get in touch and we'll help connect you. And, you know, I think do really great work. And thank you for all you do for our members.
Thank you. Thanks for having us today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've done it.
Do you want me to? Adam, did you want to take the screen or shall I?
I can take it, Dan. It's fine.
Thank you.
Let's just do this. Thank you for staying with us, everybody. So we've got a bit of an update, Dan and myself, on the next stages and what's happening at the Institute. So I'm going to move to
One of the things I need to just mention to people, we didn't mention it too much earlier, but one of the new obligations that's been set as policy already for all of our members is a new 5 hours per year of your minimum 25 has to now be on climate, biodiversity, resilience or sustainability related topics. So that kicks in from 1st of July as part of our climate action plan. And I also put the challenge out there to the other professions, and I'm going to be pushing them at Construction Industry Council and Environmental Policy Forum to follow suit, because we actually do need to make sure everyone's equipped to deal with the challenges ahead. And you'll see there from the range of topics that we've got coming up in our program, a lot is going to be around climate change, a bit on health and wellbeing there as well, accounting for landscape biodiversity, net gain, all those sorts of topics are what we've got in the program. Now, of course, for the rest of this year, we're essentially planning for it to be online, because even if lockdown provisions ease somewhat, we think that it'll be very difficult to still hold larger in-person events. So as a team, we're basically through to the end of the year, pretty much planning for nearly everything to be online. There may be a few exceptions, but pretty much the rest of our learning program for this year will be webinars and online CPD days. We're still going to be doing some CPD days. And then hopefully by next year, we'll be able to start offering some in-person again. And, you know, having a mix of the two going forward. So you can see there some of the key dates we've already set. Important, you know, range of different things there, parks management as well, and some human skills there. And if you've got ideas, you know, we're really open with our webinars. We can actually do more bespoke events as well. So, you know, in terms of lunchtime learning series, you see there a much wider range of topics that we're going to be able to deliver over the next period. We're now doing these weekly. Massive shout out, as the team said before, to Andy, Natasha and Ruella in the team who are managing that series and have turned around pulling this series together really quickly given the scenarios we've all faced. And it's definitely, you know, a great way of engaging for all of our members going forward. So yeah, we're open to suggestions of what else you need as well. You know, and
it's important, isn't it, Dan, is that if you think there's an area that you need upskilling in, or you are an expert in an area, now's a great opportunity. We've set up the digital platforms to make it happen. So get in touch with Dan, myself, or Andy Morris at the Institute, and we'll open that discussion. Cheers, thank you. And Dan, is that your desk there? It's very impressive.
No, no, that's not my desk.
Oh,
I do have the same color scheme though. That paint on the wall, whoever's it is we'll have to find out, but it's, yeah. So
just to rounding up everybody, thank you for staying with us. I just want to finish by finger posting a couple of Choose Landscape partner projects that we're supporting. We mentioned it last time. I'm very excited. Romy's still here because she's going to show us what she's been up to. So you'll remember I talked last time about the Grow Happy Sunflower Challenge. Now, that is a challenge that we've partnered up with the London College of Garden Design and Jeremy from the Landscape Show as well. And we're encouraging everybody across the UK to try and grow a sunflower. Now, a lot of people have said, I'm a bit late now, so what can I do? So we're thinking of introducing the shortest, prettiest and wonkiest sunflowers in the UK. Thousands of seeds have been sent out, and I'm really, really excited to see people online sharing how they're planting a seed with their children, their family and friends. And it's just a simple thing we can all do. And if you haven't got a packet of sunflower seeds or you've never grown one, get in touch and we'll send you a free packet of seeds. It's not too late. You can do it throughout May. And this is a fantastic bit of artwork done by Josh, who did the artwork at the LI Awards last year. So let's grow some happiness. It's an easy thing to do. And Romy, are you going to show us have you got them there? Come on.
Yes, I have. I present.
I won't ask Dan to share his because it's a soil at the moment.
Yeah, Tom, Dick and Harry.
Dan, next time I want you to share your sunflowers with us next time.
Yeah, next time. And I think the moral of this story is when entering a growing competition, get in early to get your seeds. That's my tip to everyone entering.
So if there's sunflower aren't your thing, there's another project that we're supporting, and this is from the Chelsea Physic Garden, and it's called Plot on a Plate. And you just take a regular plate, 30 centimetres, normal dinner plate, and you create your own mini landscape, park or garden on it, take a photograph, share it online, hashtag Plot on a Plate, and you've got about 10 days, I think it's next Monday, So get out there with your kids and create this mini landscape pocket park on a plate, and let's promote the next generation to choose landscape, garden design, horticulture. It's a great little project to get involved in. And if you've got a project like this, similar, and we don't know about it, let us know, and in the next webinar we'll share it with you. So they're two fantastic projects. So next time, it's the 2nd of June, it's a Tuesday, I believe, and we have got International Practice Profile, and I'll be giving, get the tissues out, my June to June, my President's highlights as I career off into the sunset as Jane arrives as the new president. But the other thing we'll be featuring here is international practice, won't we, Dan? And that's really interesting.
Yeah, and we're on the lookout for people from around the world. And I've just got a message actually from Mustafa Arta from Turkey, who's joined. So, you know, these webinars now are open to all, and particularly, you know, it's important to recognize that 10% of our practicing members in chartered and fellow level are actually based in countries other than the UK. And, you know, our new professional of the year is based in India. So we're really keen to make sure that we're doing more that's also relevant for that group of members as well. Yeah. And there's a lot we can learn, particularly, you know, related to the current health crisis, but also looking at climate change and biodiversity. So, you know, really encouraging, if you're interested in getting involved or have suggestions for topics on these, do get in touch with us. We're really receptive to that. A few little messages on the Q&A, Adam. I just answered one from Vanessa Ross that was around, you know, is 2029 ambitious enough for net zero? Well, we're also measuring the impact, and I think we've all agreed that with board and our team that if we can do it sooner than that, we will. That's the maximum time we've got, not the minimum time. So I think all of us are looking to challenge each other to do, you know, to meet these targets in an achievable way, but we'll do that based on measuring our footprint and developing a proper plan for carbon reductions for the Institute.
And it's about now, it's about acting now. So to achieve that 2029, it's only going to be possible if we start acting now. So the benefits of it should start happening instantly. And I mentioned it earlier, the situation with COVID-19, the lockdown, has forced so many people's hand. I am really, really proud of the team at the LI that we were upskilled, whatever you want to call it, with the tech to be able to work from home and to be able to carry, to a certain degree, business as usual, weren't we, Dan? On a number of different...
That's really true. So also, I think this actually has also challenged us to be more efficient as well, generally. And I think that's at the core of responding to climate crises and all as well, in terms of, you know, how do we be super efficient? There'll still be a place for in-person activities, but I think over the next period, I invite everyone to kind of, I think it'll be a good time over the next month or two for us all to think around what the future of the profession needs to look like, and the future of work and the future of activity. Because undoubtedly this current crisis we're living through is going to change everything. And I think it's going to be quite an important time for us to all reflect on that and look at what we need to do differently going forward as organisations and as businesses going forward. It's definitely a very challenging, interesting, but sometimes you end up with a lot of innovation during periods like this. And so I'm going to be, you know, really keen to hear people's ideas for that going forward. So it's an open invitation.
Well, it's been an hour and a half. It's been an hour and a half. Everybody needs to go and get their hour nature fix now. So I'd like to say thank you to Romy. So thank you very much for joining us. Good luck with your sunflower. I'd like to thank you, Mark and Kate, for their presentations and joining us as partners. We'll keep in contact, and we'll be providing our membership with what we're up to and working with you. And thanks, Dan, for joining me. You've not dropped out. We've only had 2 police cars go past.
Yeah. Just a reminder of realities. One thing I would just say, the climate action report is now live. So do get on our website. It's one of the lead news stories. Get it out there, sharing it with others, and have a good read of it. And do get in touch with us, climate@landscapeinstitute.org, if you want to help us on the journey ahead.
Thank you very much for joining us, everybody. We will see you on the 2nd of June. We're online on Twitter and Instagram if you do want to get in touch. But for now, this is Adam White and the rest of us here saying au revoir.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Cheers.